middle ground. This is where you both want to get to. So they want to come this way a little bit and you want to come this way a little bit in what you're giving and what they're giving. Right? So you want to reach a middle ground. That's the whole idea. That's the whole premise of getting here to negotiating. The middle ground is a bit from them and a bit from you. So you're both happy. Mutual benefit. Mutual benefit. Sometimes you have to give a compromise. Sometimes, okay, well, I can give you a bit extra of this, but in return, you give me a bit extra of that. Or in return, I can give you this and you can give me that. So it's a compromise of a bit of give and take, of having multiple things that you can bring to the table, which we'll get back to. So bit of compromise is always good because it's good faith that you're willing to negotiate, you're willing to compromise. That's why you're both there, both parties are there to be able to come to a fair mutual benefit for all. Like I said, give and take. You give a little, you take a little. All right. Alternatives. Be receptive to. Receptive mean open. You can't say, no, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing anything, because that's not fair. You're there to negotiate and to find a middle ground. Flexibility. So maybe you can move a little bit on maybe the price. Maybe you can move a little bit on some of the conditions or some of the other aspects of a contract or the agreement. All right, so flexibility, be willing, which kind of saying the same thing in multiple ways. Mutual benefit, I mentioned before. That's the whole point of being here, is that we both win. You want a win-win situation. All right. Reciprocate. So if one party says, oh, all right, okay, we can give you this, then you must be willing to bow down and give them a little bit of what they want. All right, that's part of the flexibility. Being reciprocating, to give back. If somebody gives you something, you want to give back. Reciprocate. Trade-off. Again, same kind of thing. All right, we'll take a hit on this, but we want a bit extra for that. All right, trading off. Again, a lot of the same things are meant by all these different words. Proposal. Well, that's generally at the beginning, and you say, well, I propose that you have, say, this, let's just pretend a car. You have this car for this money, and we can also throw in some, I don't know, extra floor mats in the car. In return, you reciprocate, you will give us this asking price, and, we have a deal. That's my proposal. And so then you could also get a counter proposal. Maybe the other person says, okay, well, I don't need the floor mats, but I do want the car. But if you can give me a service within the next 20,000 miles, then we've got ourselves a deal. So proposal, counter proposal. Low ball offer. This is more of an Americanism. And what it means is that when you start here and the other person says, well, that's way too low or way too high, then you've got a situation where one person is being maybe a little bit cheeky, a little bit disrespectful. Let's say the car is worth 5,000 euros. All right, you want 5,000 euros for this car, but they're saying, well, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 3,000 euros. And then you think, well, that's a deal breaker. Where we got that? That's a deal breaker. I can't let it go for 3,000 euros. So it's about flexibility and not being disrespectful by giving a low ball offer. All right, so one person comes down a bit, the other person comes up a bit, up to a mutual benefit. But if you have a low ball offer, this is very cheeky and a little bit disrespectful. Lowballing is also a part of negotiating, and that's something you can do as a tactic. It's not a very good tactic, but it's something you can do if the other party is in a desperate situation for a low ball offer. Like, for example, if you're trying to sell your car, but it must be gone in the next 3 days because you've got some bills to pay and you're desperate to sell it, then maybe you would accept a lowball offer. All right, deadlock. Now this is where the other person and you come to a situation where neither of you are willing to compromise or move anymore. No, I'm not going to sell the car for 3,000 and you can't come up anymore because that's all the money you have. Then that's a deadlock. Nobody wins, nobody moves. The deal is over, it's finished. You both walk away. Very similar to a deal breaker. If they say that I'm only going to pay 3,000, that's not enough. You can't make any profit. It's not a good situation. And so the deal's off. No more deal. Walk away. Bring to the table. Bring to the table. Now, this is some of the good things that you have to offer. Well, actually, we can offer this. We can actually offer services for the next 5 years. We can offer a good deal on your next car, maybe for your daughter when she passes her car test. These kinds of things. Bringing to the table other benefits. Hold all the aces. Now, often, one side has more leverage because they hold all the aces. Maybe they've got the most money or they're a big corporate company and maybe you want what they've got and they know that. So they would hold all the aces. They've got all the benefits and all the positive and all the leverage on their side. And you're in a weaker situation because they hold all the aces. Going back to hold all the aces, keep something up your sleeve. And that would be like, for example, you can pay cash. Maybe you can take the car right now. Maybe you've got a big company, and if they do you a good deal on this car now for your wife, then you'll agree to come and buy 5 other vehicles for your company. So that's an ace up your sleeve. Okay. Beat about the bush. Beat about the bush is not getting straight to the point. Now, people from different countries are more likely to be beating around the bush with politeness, with changing the subject, with just talking and talking and talking and talking until the other person is tired and drained and worn out and is more likely and happy to agree to just about anything because you've beaten about the bush for so long. But in general, beating about the bush is bad. It makes negotiations much longer than it needs to be. Beating about the bush is more than polite. Hello, how are you? You know, it's going on and on, beating about the bush, going around and around what you actually want to do, what you want to discuss. All right, beat about the bush. Keep something up your sleeve, we said. What's the best you can do? What's the best price you can offer? Some people don't like negotiating and they just want to know the bottom price without haggling. And so if you say, okay, well, I can take 4,000 for the car, fine, okay, done. We're not going to mess about. I don't have time for this. Just tell me the best price you can offer. Some people, though, will use this as a tactic. They'll think that's the starting point. They'll say, well, I don't want to negotiate. What's the best price you can give me? What's the bottom price you can give me? And you might say 4,000 for the car. And they say, oh, right, okay, well, I see 4,000 for the car is a little bit high still, a little bit high. What about, the tires? We could do with some new tires. We could do, and they'll try to start negotiating from that 4,000, from that best price you can do. And this is not fair. This is not a good tactic. It's something you can do, but it's not often helpful. And many times you ask somebody their best price and they're not telling you the truth. Maybe they could come down more, but they're expecting you to haggle again. They're expecting you to negotiate more again and again and again to keep driving the price down. So be careful if you use this one. I'll get back to you. I have to check with my wife. I need to check with the board. I need to run these figures through the accountants. And so I'll get back to you. And that's that. There we go. If you have any other ideas or any other words that you'd like to add, just put them in the comments below. See you next time.